Customer service, done right, can be your company's single biggest competitive advantage. Welcome to the Customer Service Revolution. Join customer service authority and best-selling author John DiJulius as he interviews leaders who are revolutionizing their industries. This is more than a podcast, though. It's a movement. The Customer Service Revolution is a radical overthrow of conventional business mentality designed to transform what customers and employees experience. If you're a revolutionary customer service leader who's ready to stop competing on price and obsessed with building a brand that people cannot live without, this podcast is for you.
Every day, businesses seek to make a profit. But sometimes, the bottom line is not the best indicator of a company's long-term health. In the wake of the Great Resignation, companies are scrambling to retain employees and profits. And it turns out that one answer is the key to both. The Employee Experience Revolution, the newest book by John DiJulius and Dave Murray, divulges the little-known secret of how to become a more profitable company in both the long and short term. Happy employees. Your customers will never be any happier than your employees. Remember, your people create and deliver the experience that keeps your customers coming back. Read the Employee Experience Revolution and discover how you can build the type of company that helps employees be proud of the work they do and allows them to have an opportunity to live their best lives. Order your copy today at thedijuliusgroup.com.
Welcome, revolutionaries, to the Customer Service Revolution podcast. I am John DiJulius, Chief Revolution Officer of the DiJulius Group. On today's episode, I will be interviewing Mr. Shep Hyken, a New York Times and Wall Street Journal best-selling author. Shep has written 8 books. However, today we're going to be talking to Shep about his latest customer experience research study. Before we get to our interview, let's talk about what's happening in customer experience. Learn what frustrates your customers from an unexpected source. Several years ago, I was consulting with a 5-diamond resort, and the general manager invited me to sit in on a focus group. I was excited to hear what their guests, their customers' feedback was about their experiences at this resort. To my surprise, the focus group was not with guests, but with shuttle bus drivers employed by the resort. The shuttle bus drivers had so much incredible information to share about what the guests enjoyed and, more importantly, didn't enjoy at their stays on the resort. Most of this information was new to the leaders of the resort. They hadn't heard it before from guests or their employees. Why? Because the shuttle bus drivers were invisible to the guests. Think about it. Often, when we are near employees, for example, ordering a meal at a restaurant or checking out, we as customers don't discuss the things that frustrate us about our experience until the server or receptionist is out of earshot. However, when a guest rides a shuttle, they somehow forget that the shuttle bus driver is an employee or is even there. In addition, when the experience had just occurred, it increases the chances of customers wanting to share with one another. So the shuttle bus drivers get critical intel on what may be frustrating the guests and what delighted them. The shuttle bus drivers love being part of these focus groups, especially when they saw how action was taken on the feedback they were given, and the guests benefited from an improved experience the next time. Another incredible resource is your contact center. When communicating with a customer service rep over the phone, it is the place where customers share the most. As leaders, we need more than just encouraging our customer service reps to share feedback when they hear it. We need to set up 30-minute intimate focus groups regularly, monthly, to allow them, the customer service reps, to share what they hear. For example, our customer service reps will be the first to know when something is not working on the website when part of the buying process frustrates the customers the most. And employees want to be part of the company and share and feel heard. They want to feel like an important part of the organization. Even if they are considered frontline, they are customer facing, which means what they hear is gold. What they tell you can be worth hundreds of thousands of dollars to the organization, and all you need is to ask them. We'll be right back after this with our interview.
At the DiJulius Group, we know how difficult it is to provide an outstanding customer experience, especially when expectations are so high. That's why we created a framework that systematizes the experience you deliver. Our consultants use that framework as they work with your team to create a world-class brand experience that can be delivered simply and consistently, without affecting productivity or adding special software. Are you ready to be world-class? Visit tdg.click/Claudia to schedule a call and get started today. That's tdg.click/Claudia.
Welcome back, revolutionaries. And today I think it's a three-peat again. He's been the only person ever to speak at the Customer Service Revolution 3 times. And it's at least his 3rd time on the Customer Service Revolution podcast. My friend, my mentor, my idol, Shep Hyken, who is a customer service and experience expert, researcher, and New York Times and Wall Street Journal best-selling author. But besides all that crap, he is just an awesome guy, brilliant guy. He's written 8 books. And what I want to talk to him about is his ACA study. Welcome, Shep Hyken.
Yay! Listen to the fans. They're going crazy.
Right. We have to pipe that in later. How you doing, Shep?
I'm doing great. ACA stands for Achieving Customer Amazement, and it's really a state of the CX and customer service industry. And I love doing this research. So much fun. I geek out over this kind of stuff because it validates what you and I teach everybody. Can I just start talking about it for a moment?
That was my first question. Tell us about what the ACA study is.
So I wrote a book probably about 5 years ago when I was trying to get a huge advance from
you
a
wrote 8 books,
publisher. I did. One of my books.
Okay.
I think it was.
Wait, Shep, I gotta break in here. Did I ever tell you my biggest douchebag moment?
Oh, okay.
I have a lot of them, but I think this tops it. Okay.
This year or ever?
This is ever.
Okay.
So me and Claudia were at a restaurant. We like to eat at the bar. You know, I love bar. I don't know if you and Cindy do, but you know,
we go in, we sneak in, we sit down at a bar. It's open.
Community, and you get better service from the bartender because he's right there or she's
and they're
right
interacting with you. It's more fun.
So we started interacting with the couple next to us and have a good old time, talk and blah, blah, blah. And I get up we get up to go and they say, "Hey, it was a pleasure meeting you. By the way, I'm Bob Smith and, Shirley Smith." And I go, "I'm John DiJulius and this is Claudia." And he says, "John DiJulius?" I said, "Yeah." He said, "Didn't you write a book?" And this is where I'm hoping you say, "I did this too, John." And all I had to say was yes. And just politely, and I didn't. I said, I was offended. I was like, I've written down what it was at the time, 4. And as soon as I said it, Claudia just looked at me and I realized I was an ass. So you never found yourself.
One day I'm on an airplane going from Australia back to the US.
Are you going to top my douchebag moment? I would love for you to top my douchebag moment.
I was not a douchebag, but it was so much fun. So it's often fun. I mean, I was at a party the other night and the guy says, "Shep Hyken, are you the guy that wrote the books?" "Yeah, I love and you feel so good."
Yeah.
When we're in Australia coming back, I did a series of 4 speaking engagements. I did a tour. You ever done one in Australia?
You're flexing. I have.
I'm just kidding.
Brisbane, Melbourne, and Sydney and Perth.
Yeah, I haven't been to Perth, but I was at somewhere else. I can't remember. But I have a great client in Perth. So on Virgin Air, if you sit in upper class, which is what they call it, which is kind of a to use your word, douchebag kind of explanation.
You're flexing here, Shep. You're flexing.
Upper class. I'm upper class in an Australian accent, which almost sounds like a British accent, which sounds even more upper class. But anyway, I digress. And Cindy goes back to sit in a bar area. There's a bar area that is behind the wall where passengers just kind of hang out. She comes back. She goes, "You're not going to believe this. These two guys are talking about you." And I go, "What, did you tell them who you were?" "No, I'm just listening. They're talking about you." So I go back there and I start hanging out and talking and hearing what they're saying. And I finally let on that I'm the guy that they're talking about.
You're the guy. Okay. Well, you didn't one up my douchebag. I was hoping you were going to one up my idiotic moment of like, "I've written, how dare you say I've written."
My worst moment, which isn't like that, but it's one where I realized you got to be so careful about what we do. It was so incongruent with my brand.
Yes.
Is have you done MDRT, $1 Million Roundtable?
No, that's where I met you, Shep. That's where that's right. We met 100 years ago. Someone brought not only the book, brought me your video back. It was on VHS or beta back then.
So I had written that book, The Loyal Customer, the taxi cab driver.
Yes.
And I had a sponsor that bought books for, I think, everybody at the conference. And there were like 8,000 people there. Yeah. This was so long ago. I'm in New Orleans. I go there and for some reason, there was still smoking sections on the airplane. That's how long ago it was. For some reason, they bumped me from my nice, cushy forward cabin ticket to a middle seat, not just in coach, but in the back of the plane with the smokers. Why they did it, I don't know. Maybe because I showed up a little later than I should have. I don't know. But I kind of lost my cool with the guy because there was no explanation. I paid for the ticket. It's like, do you remember the Seinfeld episode where you can take a reservation, you just can't keep talking about the rental car? I felt kind of the same way. Like, I paid for the ticket. I reserved the seat. You just don't keep the seat. And I was still in a suit. I had just come off the stage, still in my suit, went to the airport, and I'm sitting and I'm walking in after arguing. There's nothing I can do. It's either get on the plane and sit in the back or it leaves. And as I'm walking, some guy who was near me says, "Aren't you the speaker we just saw about 2 hours ago?" And oh my gosh, how embarrassing is that?
I've had that, Shep. I've topped that. I'm always, barking or, because you got to be careful when you're in a hotel or going through security. That person could be on your plane or that person could be in your audience. So all right, I got time for one more question.
And that's it. And then we're done with the interview. No. So here's the thing about the, I was telling you about one of the books I wrote.
Yeah.
The agent that I was trying to get in to work with me, who's known for getting these huge advances, said, I love your book, but I'm not going to work with you because everything you're talking about is just opinion. I go, "What are you talking about?" I mean, I show you case study after case study, the companies that get it right. It's still your opinion. I need empirical research to prove it. So I hired my first research company, and it was a research PhD group out of University of Colorado. And they actually created enough research that it became the foreword of the book. I mean, I took this guy's advice, said, I get it. And then the following year, I actually created True Research where I asked the questions because I was I was quoting a lot of statistics and findings from, a company's state of the industry report on customer service or experience, whatever. I go, why am I quoting others? I'm supposed to be the expert.
Right.
I should be quoting my research. And that's how it all started. And there's some, it's better and better.
I got a million questions for you. Let me ask.
Go.
Yeah,
let's go.
So, at the end of the day, let's just start there. Is customer experience getting better or worse?
Well, I think it's getting tougher for companies to stay where the bar is because the bar is constantly being raised. The importance of
I feel like the bar is being lowered, Shep.
Well, no, the bar is being raised by rock star companies that we all love to do business with, which makes 2%. It harder. Which makes it harder for the companies that are trying and failing at times because they aren't putting the processes together. They aren't investing, not often the dollars, but sometimes the time and the proper training, hiring companies like you, your company, and maybe mine to go out and do what it is that we do best. I don't believe it takes a lot of money to make happen what we talk about happening on a very frontline oriented type of business. But if you take a look at what the rockstar companies are doing, they are making it harder for others. And if you look at how important customer service is in a bunch of different areas, it keeps going up and up and up every so little bit. For 5 years, we asked the same question. It's one of our opening sequence of questions about the importance of customer service. I'm trying to get to the page. There it is, right there on page 8 this year. And we looked at all these different areas. Is convenience important to you? Knowledgeable employees who are kind and helpful, getting the customer support easily, on and on. And every year in every category, it just a tiny little bit percentage gets more important than it was the last year. By the way, number one most important thing that customers want more than anything, it is convenience. That's correct.
I read your report, Shep.
Yep. And that, by the way, was the book, The Convenience Revolution, that the agent said, I need empirical proof. And by the time I got it back to him, I go, look, I've hired a company. I've done what I know. He goes, thanks, but we're done here.
Right.
And by luck, I had another agent that took over, and I've been working with that publisher ever since.
So I'm like you. I've often quoted the ACSI, the American Customer Satisfaction Index, and until recently, I lost all credibility. And this is why they've shown for the last 2 years, coming out of the pandemic, that across the board, all industries, overall customer satisfaction has dropped to a 2-decade low, which everyone agrees with. We've all experienced it. Labor shortage, supply chain issues. I call the experience gap, meaning people are paying more and getting less, all that. Then the next quarter, I think it might have been, one of the quarters at the end, maybe fourth quarter of last year, 2023, it jumped from a 2-decade low to all-time high. And
not in every area, in some industries.
No, this was the overall.
Really?
All industries. And so it's record high. I totally will not use it as a source. It's not overall. It is not, customer experience is not better than it ever has been. But I digress. All right, before we really get into it, who is this study for? I know you like to get on a soapbox on this. What types of businesses?
It's any type of business. B2B, B2C doesn't matter. Even though we did a consumer study, everybody's a consumer. Even if you are selling some type of manufacturing equipment to a procurement specialist of another company who happens to be your customer, that customer is a consumer of, they're probably doing business with Amazon at home and the grocery store and the restaurant down the street that they love and the shoe repair. So they understand what great service looks like. So as I talk to B2B companies, they go, tell me how this research correlates to what I do. I go, the numbers don't. The ideas behind the numbers are very, very valid. So you still need to focus on convenience. You still need to be friendly, although it may be more B2B. There might be a little bit more contractual and heavy duty negotiations that aren't always so much fun. But at the end of the day, if you create a bad experience and I come back next year for contract renewal and I start thinking about how it was, I probably will start to find someone else. I worked with a major manufacturer that sold equipment that started at around the $1 million, $2 million robotic type equipment. And they said that it's not the equipment. The equipment's very expensive. They're willing to sell the equipment at what it costs. What they want is the maintenance contract, because that maintenance contract that equipment will last 10, 12 years. So if they make a mistake and they don't renew that contract, it could be what they referred to as a generational mistake, another 10, 12 years before they have a chance to come in because they just lost out when it was time to resell them the equipment, So that's
who's better to service the equipment than the one who made it, right?
Right. And that's the whole point. If you, and at the end of 10 years, when the life cycle of this equipment is ready to be replaced, you go out and the company says, okay, do we have a great experience? Would we even consider looking at somebody else? Maybe just to keep them honest. But at the end of the day, this company who we love probably has an upper hand and we can talk to them about what's going on. There's some great, and I'm really getting off I'm not running down a rabbit hole, so to speak. No offense to the rabbits. I like rabbit holes. But the government is a very interesting thing. I work a lot with military where they get contractors. And what happens is the military likes the vendor that they're doing business with. They create a spec that they, want, or a request for proposal that goes out to a number of different vendors. However, it's weighted in favor of the vendor they currently have because they know what it is this vendor can do. So what they're looking for is, can other vendors match what this vendor does? Chances are they can't if this vendor does it right. And therefore, they have the upper hand. So even when it comes to government and those types of contracts, you have an opportunity to build the relationship or fail the organization with a bad experience or 2 or 3, which would make them say, you know what, next time we have a chance to renew, I'm going to start looking at someone else. A consumer walks in a mall. Sounds like the start of a joke. Customer walks in a mall. If I want to buy this black shirt, I can go to 15 different stores in this gigantic mall. And if I go to the first one and I don't like the way I'm being treated, even if they have it, I just go to the next store. But if I do like the way I'm treated, the next time I need another black t-shirt, I walk into that one. So it's kind of the same thing, just on a consumer level versus a business level. We all need to be very, very aware of making sure we're in the moment. And this is why I refer to this as my awesome responsibility, which I think was my closing number 10 point when I did the Customer Service Revolution conference with you back in October. Is number 10 was, everybody has an awesome responsibility, and they're interacting with that customer, guest, client, whatever you want to call them. And at that moment, they represent the whole brand. They're like the CEO of the moment, and they can make or break the reputation, because then that customer walks away and says, I love doing business with them. And them is often just one person, maybe 2 people, but usually one person as they refer to them. So that's important to consider.
Awesome. So, so anything stand out? Any surprises? We know convenience, and and I don't think that's a surprise. But we're going through your study. Anything that stood out or surprised you?
Well, one of the things I love, and you and I talk about it, is in your comment, is a great service experience makes price irrelevant. And I've always argued.
Hold on. Let me, before I know where you're going.
You used to say that. We probably talked about this last time. No.
100%. We help companies make price irrelevant. Now, where you forget, because I know you quote me and talk about this, and when you write articles, you reference, that's mine, great. But you don't remember my definition of making price irrelevant. This is, and I always say, Shep, it's not that we can raise our prices 100% or 50% and not lose existing or potential customers. That's not what making price irrelevant is. Making price irrelevant is, based on the experience your brand consistently delivers, your customers, clients have no idea what your competition charges, right? And that's, to me, what making price irrelevant looks like. That does. And we all do that. If we love our Apple, if we love, Lululemon, we love the hair salon, right? We're not out checking to see, what do you charge? What do you charge? Well, that's $5 more or less, or 5%. So go on.
So, and by the way, I still love your definition. I believe a better word for irrelevant is less relevant. Yeah. Because that's really what we've done. There's no way that if I'm getting ready to buy a car, no matter how much I love that dealership, I'm just going to make sure they're honest. Okay. Even if it's just a quick, let me just look online and see what else is out there. I'm going to do that just to make sure I feel the way I am, because there have been companies that over time raise their prices and get far above the competition. And one day their customer says, hey, I've noticed, man, you are a whole lot more. Oh, really? Well, what do we need to do to keep your business? Well, why weren't you giving me this price last year, the year before?
Right.
And so, but anyway, I know that's kind of a fun point to argue with you. But as a result, I have asked questions, and I asked them 2 different ways. So what I did this year that was different is I had a whole lot more questions than I've ever had. Too many questions to send on one survey. So I split it up, and statistically valid surveys, according to Qualtrics, I want to get scientific, is 400 to 600 completed surveys. Media likes to have over 1,000. So each of these surveys I sent out had over 1,000 people weighted to the U.S. Census for age, ethnicity, gender, et cetera, et cetera. So it's really a cross section of the U.S. But by doing it this way, and this, by the way, I just wrote a special report that's coming out probably in the next week or so, maybe by the time this show airs, about satisfaction surveys and how important they are. And we tell clients, you don't need to ask 25 questions. If you have a whole lot of customers, ask 3 questions to a bunch of groups of customers, you're going to get the same information because at some point it all kind of averages together. So that's what we did. So on one survey, I asked, would you be willing to pay more for great service? And on another survey, I asked the question, worded a little bit differently, but I wanted to see if I could get the same answer. And I can't remember what the difference was, but something like, is service more important to you than price? They came within 1% of each other, which proves both ways. I mean, you and I are talking about the same thing. Price becomes irrelevant, less relevant, however we want to argue about it. But that's the point. Deliver the experience, and you've got an upper hand with your competition.
If you enjoy what you're learning on the Customer Service Revolution podcast, you'll love our weekly newsletter, The E-Service. It's full of great customer experience tips and stories, includes special offers, webinars, and more each week. To sign up, head to tdg.click/e-service. That's tdg.click/e-service, ESERVICE. Enter your preferred email address, and you can look forward to great advice from John in your inbox every Wednesday.
So one of the things you say in here, your study is 25%, 1/4 of satisfied customers don't come back.
Yeah.
Tell us about that.
Yeah. So that was a hard one to come up with. So several years ago, I was quoting Anthony J. Zahorik and Roland T. Russ from Vanderbilt University that did a study about satisfied customers. And they said 25 to 40% of customers don't come back. And I said, okay, what's the question? And I kept, on the past several years of surveys, I kept asking questions and getting weird answers to it. So I didn't feel like I was asking the right question. Well, this year I finally did. I made it really clear. I'll tell you what the exact question was. Maybe I don't have the exact question in the survey, but basically what I said is, if you were able to rate a company on a scale of 1 to 5, where 1 is bad and 5 is great and 3 is average, if you gave the company a 3 or an average rating, what's the likelihood that you would come back? And this is on page 4 of the survey. And basically, well, maybe it isn't on page 4. Oh, it's on page 5. Fine is not fine. 23% said, almost 1 in 4, who have a satisfactory experience is not likely or will never return. Can we afford to just be average and lose maybe a quarter of our customers? I don't think so. So it's really, really important.
Yes, as we both know, satisfied means if I'm, are you satisfied with your dry cleaner? Are you satisfied with, whoever? It means they haven't screwed up or knocked it out of the park, which means I am so susceptible as a consumer, customer, client to a better deal,
Yep.
discount, price. Price is not irrelevant. Or in some cases, location is not irrelevant. Something you'll like, Shep, is I just wrote an article about this and it had facts and probably could have used yours to back it up. The 3 most important words in retail are no longer. And what do you remember what the 3 most important words for 100 years have been?
Location, location, location.
They are now experience, experience, experience.
Exactly.
And that's where I turned it into making convenience irrelevant, right? Because most of us, and location means it's my right-hand turn. It's closest to my work,
right,
closest to my home, But when it's about the experience, which all your information, demonstrates and backs up, then I'm willing to drive 3 extra exits. I'm willing to make a left-hand turn instead of just the easiest right-hand turn because of all this stuff.
So the point of that is location is an aspect of convenience. Look at what Starbucks did. When you go up to New York, there's a Starbucks on every block or 2 blocks. You can, in downtown Manhattan, you can find a Starbucks. That makes Starbucks convenient. However, people, if they weren't so clustered together, and there's a place in Houston that's famous that on 3 corners in Houston are Starbucks on each corner, I would argue that they could get away with 2.
Right.
Not 3.
Right.
Okay.
Right.
But you need to understand why, when they say, oh, I go there because it's convenient, is different than they're so easy to do business with.
Right.
And they create a convenient experience that transcends location. Because, and this is the important thing, why do customers come back? One of my books titled, I'll Be Back, How to Get Customers to Come Back Again and Again. And that you and I hopefully will talk about that metric, the I'll Be Back metric, if you want to call it that, repeat and return business. Why are they coming back? It's not just that they do. It's nice to, they keep coming back. And then one day they don't come back anymore. Why? Well, maybe because all you created was a satisfactory experience and they found somebody that's better. Or maybe they came to you because you were convenient location-wise, and because there was nobody closer, you got it. And then all of a sudden, competitor moves in one block in, and you no longer do business with them. So it's not only that you're convenient, it's why they love to do business with you. Why are they coming in? If you find out it's only because they like it's like, why do you come into this place? They have the lowest prices. That means they're loyal to your location. They're loyal to your price. They're not loyal to your business.
We are talking to Shep Hyken, New York Times and Wall Street Journal bestselling author on customer service and customer experience, author of 8 books. And we are talking to him about his ACA study, Achieving Customer Amazement, that just came out 2024, that we will be having in the links and in the show notes at hyken.com. You go there and you can go research or find anything you need. Shep has it all. And so we're still talking. Shep, what drives loyalty? So we've said convenience, location, price, it could be. What else? What am I missing? Friendly.
So the number one, I'll tell you the top 2 most important things customers want that gets them to come back is friendly or nice people and knowledgeable people. Mm-hmm. When you take a look at those 2 things, it's like, how hard can that be?
Right.
Apparently it's very hard.
Right.
So there's a difference. Simple does not mean easy. Yeah. It's hiring right. It's training. It's keeping people, I don't care how good the person is that you've hired. You still have to coach them. As a manager, you can't just say, go out there, do what we've hired you to do, and we'll see in a couple of years. No, you've got to, even the best athletes in the world, I think back over the weekend, I watched a golf tournament on TV, and there was a picture which threw me back to the days of when I watched Tiger Woods practicing. And when he was the very best in the world at golf, he still had his coach working with him on the putting green. What am I doing wrong? Am I doing it right? I watched the best. Well, you're a baseball guy, with all that you do. When Mark McGwire was here in St. Louis hitting home run after home run, he had a batting coach, the top guy that broke the record after I don't know how many years of hitting home runs. What happens? He gets a coach to make him better. So we have to constantly train in addition to hiring right, onboarding properly, getting people to understand what it is you're good at. And by the way, you get somebody good, empower them, let them do what they're great at, and then help them be even better.
Right. Love it. Love it, Shep. How's AI playing into your study? What did you find out about AI?
Oh, boy. There's so many great questions about AI. Let's find the future of customer service here, because I don't want to give you by the way, let's talk about digital versus phone to start with. A lot of people think of the digital experience as an AI experience because you can go online. You can look at all those papers.
I know.
You should staple them because but if I prefer to go online, see if I can get the answer by typing and getting a chat bot to give it back to me. And it could be a digital chat bot as an AI fueled chat bot or a human chat bot. But we did the survey asking year after year, which would you prefer, to call in or use a digital support channel, regardless of what the digital support channel is? And I'm shocked that even in 2024, 70% of the people we surveyed said they'd rather use the phone, which, by the way, 4 years ago was 59%. So it's like, wait a minute, with all these digital channels getting better, why is the phone going up? But by the way, if you take a look at who drives that, baby boomers want the phone human experience.
Yeah. Right.
But here, let's talk about...
If you do that by age, obviously 30 and under, very low on the phone.
Yeah. It's like it really skews the other direction. So I'm looking for AI stats and facts.
That's what I was looking for. I was going to be able to tell you what page it was on.
And I think it's the future of, I should probably just look at the table of contents because that's the obvious place for it to be. And because there's some interesting information. So let's go to page, looks like page 10. That's a good one. Page 10 is like one of my favorite.
Page
Here we
11
go.
is AI.
10 and 11, the future customer service and the future is now how AI. So 62% of the customers, this is the good part, expect that AI will become a primary mode of customer service in the future. By the way, every once in a while, I'll do an informal survey on LinkedIn, which who knows? You have no idea how old the people are, what they do. It's not like a good cross section, but just yesterday we got our results back and it's about 50 some odd percent say the same thing. Here's the bad part. 63% are still frustrated by self-service options that use ChatGPT type technology. Why? Because here's why. They haven't been perfected to the way the customer likes. However, that's not exactly true. It's so far beyond what it used to be, but only a few companies have invested and implemented properly, where others, it's still frustrating. I always love to use the same example, and the same kind of thing happened to me just a couple of days ago. I wanted to buy a docking station for my computer. So I needed to ask this question. Do I plug the computer into the docking station? And then I want to know, do I need to plug the power cord into the computer, or do I plug it into the docking station? Which means if I plug it into the docking station, it'll power everything that it's connected to, the monitors, everything else. So I asked that question and a response came back, which computer do you want to buy? I go, don't want to buy a computer. I want to buy a docking station. Does the power cord go into the computer or the docking station? Second time, exact same answer. Which computer do you want to buy? Never mind. So that's frustrating. So what they've done is they've not really implemented AI. They've implemented if then now what kind of a response. And they're hoping that the computer is smart enough to recognize the question and then take me down the path where it wants. Where today, generational AI or conversational AI will actually hear what I'm saying. And then it'll hear the answer frustrated me, and it'll come back and give me another answer. It'll talk to me almost like it's a human. By the way, it will also recognize that it gave me the wrong answer and flip me to a human right away. And I won't even know I've been flipped to a human, other than it takes a little bit more time for the human being to type up the response. So there's all kinds of information. 75%, 3/4 of customers are concerned that privacy is going to become an issue. And then what really is, they still believe, people think AI is going to kill jobs. And what we're finding with the companies that we do research with, Capterra last year, which is part of Gartner, we did a study together and learned that of all the companies investing in AI, the majority, like 60% or so, are still increasing the number of employees. A very small percentage said they were going down. About 20, I can't remember the numbers, of 23 or 28%, one of those two numbers, said we're just staying the same right now. But they're still investing in AI and helping to create the digital experience. Why? Because when it's done right, AI is going to answer the easy questions and let the human, the customer service rep, answer the more difficult, complicated questions. And get this, AI is now supporting the agent. So when you call me with this really complicated question, I don't have to be perfectly trained on it. I just have to have a general idea, because the computer is going to listen to our conversation and feed me information in real time. And I can share that information back at you, and I can work on my EQ, which is my emotional connection with you.
There's no pregnant pause because you're trying to find it.
Right. And it's happening automatically. I might be looking at the screen trying to see what part is most appropriate, but I'm not typing, doing research, not liking what I find and keep, having to type on something else. So, almost 80%, 78% said they think that robots are going to replace humans when it comes to customer service roles. I don't know if that's going to happen as early as 10 years from now, but I think there's going to be a lot of human replacement. But I want everybody to realize, when I start to look at all of the articles about how AI is disrupting jobs, it's not disrupting, it's displacing. Okay, because people can go get jobs doing something else. When people worked in the audio cassette factory and all of a sudden DVDs and CDs came along and audio cassettes were no longer needed, these people went out and found other jobs, either going to the CD company or finding another job. It's not like these people went homeless without jobs for the rest of their lives. John, you and I were talking the other day, and you said it so perfectly. And that was like, we were talking about your new book, which is the employee experience revolution is so freaking phenomenal. It's
Thank
so
you.
on target. So can I interview you about this book right now? No, but you said it's not that there's this, what was it? The great, where they walk out.
There's no such thing as staff shortages. It's a turnover crisis.
Yeah, exactly. It's just, and it's turnover because people are leaving because they are finding a better job elsewhere. And it's not even about the pay anymore. It's about how they're treated and the experience they have. That is no different than the customer deciding to do business elsewhere because they didn't like doing business with you. I love the fireworks in the background.
Wow.
That is the revolution.
I have no idea what caused that. It must be something you said. That was great. Shep, we have time for one more. I'm going to let you freestyle it. What haven't we talked on, or what do you want to make sure revolutionaries listen? And for you revolutionaries, again, we're talking about the state of customer service and customer experience through the ACA study, the 2024 ACA study, Achieving Customer Amazement. You have to download it, share it with your leaders to get a better understanding and pulse of what your customer, your client, your patient, your tenant, whoever your customer is, what they are thinking. Shep.
Well, I'm going to go back and I'm not going to quite repeat what we talked about before, but right on page 12, the top 4 reasons the customers come back: helpful employees, knowledgeable employees, friendly employees. And then we add number 4, convenience. Okay. When you put it all together, by golly, you've got a winning combination. And this type of report is fuel to get you to think about how important this is. And then what we ask them to do at that point is to either call you or me, buy both of our books, and then figure out how to make sure that the stats and facts that are the positive ones happen in your business.
Shep, you are always bringing it. You're an ATM of amazing ideas. You're amazing. Thank you so much for once again repeating the Customer Service Revolution podcast.
All right. Love it, man. Thank you for having me. I love you like a brother. I can't wait to see you sooner than later.
You too. Thank you, Revolutionaries. We'll be right back after this. Let's wrap up this episode with my mantra of living an extraordinary life so countless others do. If you follow me on Facebook or LinkedIn, you know that I post a couple quotes a day. I try to every day. And a lot of people like them, but really a lot of my quotes, or all the quotes I post, really help me to remind me of what I want to do intentionally. And one quote I recently posted on Mother's Day was this, that just blew up with a lot of likes and comments. The following: the most important thing a father can do for his children is to love their mother. That quote means a lot. And that doesn't mean, maybe, most two parents don't stay together, the husband and wife. Still, I still think this is very important. And the most important thing a father can do for his children is to love their mother. I think that's just a great lesson. A lot of times when I get interviewed on podcasts or for different things, sometimes people ask, what would you tell your younger self, your 25-year-old self? And to me, that's kind of code for what's one of your biggest regrets. And I think this could be, when we're younger and we're married and we think we have the rest of our lives to show appreciation, at least I do. I did show appreciation for my wife and make sure she knew how much I appreciated all the things she did and how much I loved her and all those things. And, I had it happen about 15 years ago where my wife's life was cut short and she died in an automobile accident. So, if I could tell my 25-year-old self is not think that you have the rest of your life to show and demonstrate appreciation and demonstrate to your kids, modeling the behavior that you want them to grow up to be like to their future significant others. So it means more to me, my quotes, than probably anyone else. But the most important thing a father can do for his children is to love their mother. That's not over for me. I still can show that still celebrate her to them, tell stories about how amazing she was. So I want to thank you for joining me on the Customer Service Revolution podcast.